give a quick intro to Weiqi or Go to demo these new boards, which you can add to your own worlds, and then I'll show you how to do that in a live stream. And James and I will say something about how behind the scenes that works. And then Billy will say a bit about the new admin features. So you now have the ability to kick people if you're the administrator of a node, and there's also support for turning on and off whiteboards from sort of the command line, the chat console. Okay, so maybe first an introduction to how the Weiqi board itself works. So if you see over near the stairs, there's two stones. You click on the stone you want to play and your name will show up there. So currently Bias Taurus was the last person to click on white. I'll click on black. I guess the convention is if you see names there's a game in progress, but people should clear the board when they're finished. So clearing the board will remove those names. So don't, except for right now. So feel free to click on that and see that you can then place a stone. Anybody who's clicked on the color can continue placing stones. Okay, so now have a look at the first blackboard. So obviously there's two colored stones. People take turns playing. You play on vertices. It's a 19 by 19 grid, so 361 positions. The aim is to have as much territory as possible. So 361 divided by 2. If the number of if your territory exceeds that, you win at the end of the game. Sometimes people will play on a smaller grid, so 9 by 9 or 13 by 13. So you might want to start with that. Okay, so the rules are as follows. I need to make some definitions. So, not in black. so definition. So a stone placed at a vertex has either 2, 3, or 4 liberties. So this is the definition, this concept of a liberty. Okay, so if you're in a corner, these two vertices, so the circle there is a stone, the two vertices that are connected by a single edge are the liberties of that stone. You could also be somewhere along an edge, not in a corner, then you would have 3 liberties, or you could be out in the middle of the board, in which case you would have 4. Okay, that's the liberties of a single stone. Okay, so a group.
Dan, I'm already confused. So
Yep.
If you're in the middle of the board, but one of your liberties is occupied by another stone, do you still have 4 liberties, or does that subtract a liberty?
Yeah, good question. So, no, it subtracts a liberty. So yeah, it could be 1. So how should I say this? Yeah, if no other stones exist. So a liberty is an unoccupied vertex. I could go back and define this better, but you get the idea, I think. Wow. Okay, so a group is the transitive closure of 2 stones being connected by an edge. So a group is a set of stones of I think these whiteboards have had a bit of a performance regression. Same color. Cool. all connected. So all connected by edges. So you can reach, so a group is a set of stones where you can reach every stone from every other stone in the set by moving along edges completely occupied. Moving along edges to vertices completely occupied by stones in the group. Okay, so I'll demonstrate in front of me here. So there's a stone, it's got 4 liberties. Now it's got, the original stone has 3 liberties, and this is a group, so this is a group of 3. This is not in the same group because it's not connected by a single edge. Okay, so maybe I'll just say it out loud. Well, I'll add it here, why not? So the liberties of a group are the union of all the liberties of the members of the group. So if C is a group, the liberties are this thing here. So that group near my feet is now captured. Thanks. Okay, so that original black group had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 liberties, but they were all removed by those stones the opposing color. If a group has no liberties, it's captured and has to be removed from the board. Okay, so those are the basics. Here's now sort of more subtle points. So when you place a stone, you can place it such that it will have no liberties. So let me make a hole here. That would place a stone such that it has no liberties. That's not legal, but it would be legal if by placing it there you captured those stones and made it so that that new stone had a liberty. So if I took the white stones and added some more here, so it would now be legal for white to play in that position, because by doing so it would it would capture that stone, and now that white stone has a liberty. Okay, so there's more complicated examples of that. The only other rule you need to know is that you can't return the board state to its previous state in order to avoid infinite cycles. So I couldn't now, as black, immediately play to capture that white stone.
Is it the previous state, or is it any previous state?
Yeah, good question. The rules are a bit ambiguous about that. I haven't looked into like an actual mathematician treating it carefully. Usually people read it as saying that it's just the exact, like the immediate previous state. That may imply the strongest statement, but I haven't thought about it. Presumably you could capture a bunch of stones and then like recapitulate some state in some sneaky way. So I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, it feels like if you're allowed to return to a state that isn't the directly previous state, then you could just get the game stuck in a loop if neither player wants to make any different plays, right?
Yeah, that's true. You can always pass on your turn instead of playing a stone, and the game ends when both players agree that, agree to end it basically. So, and then they sort of, it's a little hard to define technically, but you'll kind of get the feel of the fact that you can agree that certain areas are possible to be filled up with your stones, even if you haven't filled them up. So you tend to not play until the bitter end, where every vertex is fully occupied. And at the end, there may be free territory in between two groups, which is by convention divided 50-50 between both players. So you either count it 50-50 or you just don't count those squares at all, then they don't contribute. Okay, so there's 4 boards spread around. So there's one, you can see the other one across the water a little bit, and if you go that way you'll see another one around the corner of the island. The one for pros is up at the very top of the mountain, but you need to have your Taoist wits about you to make it around on the wooden platforms without falling off the edge of the world. So maybe we'll take a minute to have a bit of a play. So and then I'll gather everyone together again for the live stream. Let's see how much time we got. Yeah, let's take 10 minutes or so to have a bit of a shot. So we can clear this board. Maybe there's voice channels per board. You'll see if you head over. It's a bit hard to see, but over at the edge of the board, furthest away from the stairs, there's a voice channel here.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, and there's another one on the other board. So each board has its own voice channel. And the main voice channel is the one over near the waterfall. So let's take 10 minutes, have a bit of a play, and then...
Where is? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where's the fourth board? I can't see it.
It's up the top of the mountain.
So I have pretty low graphics. Is it the mountain that is on top of the waterfall?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Do you have, is the chair still here so you can get up there quickly?
Who is jumping over the water? Is that you, Tamer? Swim like a sensible person.
Excuse you. And yes, it is me.
Okay, so to get stuff into your world, you just click on the toolbox, which Billy already has open somewhere.
Toolbox.
Oh,
that
it's
should show.
Yeah, okay.
Toolbox here. So
yeah,
this option.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of these things will show up here.
And then you just go to the search. I mean, it needs to be on the leftmost one there, and models, I guess, but that's the default. And you just search for Metauni, and you'll see 3 objects show up there. So maybe we'll start with a whiteboard. So stick a whiteboard in.
So should I
you can either
double click?
You can either click and it will just appear somewhere, probably at 000, I'm not sure, or above whatever part you have selected, I think. Or you can drag it out of there to place it. So that should just work if you go play.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to just record this Roblox Studio screen as well?
That's okay. I'm recording on this end. I think it's good enough.
Okay, cool. Okay, so home, play. Alright, so it's over there. So I click on it. Cool.
Yep. Okay, so you can have more than one whiteboard in your game, but I think you still need to give them different names. Is that correct, James?
Yeah, that's right. I could probably change that so that you don't have to manually rename them.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Like, I think that would be possible to do.
Yeah, at least for the moment, though. So if you want to drag a new one in there, Billy.
Yep. So back to... I don't have the toolbox anymore, so I'll bring it up there. Metauni. Oh, search. Yeah, just double click in it.
Yep.
Showed up on my head. Oh, also, I'm currently in the game.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah, that won't stay in there.
Stop. Yeah, if I stop, it'll disappear.
Maybe that's worth flagging for people. So if you're using Roblox Studio, there's quite a robust ability to edit the world while you're in it, but those changes won't persist when you stop. So if you are intending to make changes to the world, make sure you stop the sort of play mode first.
Yeah, it warns you if you do it in a script. Like, it'll pop up a message saying, "Are you sure you want to edit the script?" Because it won't get saved.
Right.
But it doesn't for physical objects in the world, which is a little
Right.
confusing the first time it happens.
Okay.
So I can move this by... I've got it selected, and I just went move under home.
Yep.
I can do this kind of thing. Or I can click and drag it around.
Yep. So at the moment, what will actually happen if they have the same name? Just you draw on one, it'll show up on the other, right, James?
Yeah, it shares all the events
Yeah.
between the two whiteboards.
So maybe that might be useful, I guess. I mean, actually, that would be a way of giving talks. I mean, if you had more than 100 people, which is not our problem currently, obviously, but if you had more than 100 people, you could have multiple places that people spawn into and have the whiteboards connected in that way. That might actually be useful.
Yeah. I think that is a useful feature, which is why I didn't, because I could have just removed it.
Yeah.
But I think what would be useful though is if the default behavior is when you create a new whiteboard object, it gives it a different name.
Yeah.
And then if you want that behavior, you can then edit the name so that they're the same name.
That makes sense, yeah.
By the way,
that's a much more common use case, is just to have several whiteboards.
Yeah.
by the way, I drew on this board, and from this board I can clear it, but I can't undo it.
Oh, that's interesting. I have no idea why that would happen.
So yeah, if I undo this one, because I drew this on the other board, it just undoes
Could
the ones I
you open up Player GUI?
Maybe this is a good opportunity to explain what's going on a bit behind the scenes. So, James, can you explain how this works as a package object and how it interacts with starter GUI and player GUI briefly?
Yeah, can you pop up the load script? Just one of the load scripts in the workspace. Either one is fine. So basically what this does is when you load the package from the toolbox, just because of the way the package works, is it generates like one folder that is then copied into the workspace. Now it's a little bit of a problem for the whiteboards because the whiteboard has a bunch of different things that it needs. It needs the physical object in the workspace, but it also needs some GUI objects which go in starter GUI. It needs some events which go in replicated storage. So what this load script does is it runs...
Sorry, James, maybe I'll just interrupt briefly. I mean, people don't know what starter GUI is probably. So if you look on the right-hand side, there's a folder there, starter GUI. So that contains GUI elements which are not actually active for anybody, but what's in there is copied. Every player has a set of GUI elements that are specific to them and run on their client. And whenever you spawn into the world or reset, the contents of starter GUI populate your player GUI. And that's when you actually click on things in the world. For example, when you click to place a Weiqi stone or you click on a whiteboard, what you're interacting with there are elements of your personal sort of player GUI folder, I suppose. Yeah. Go on, James.
So there's the thing that pops up on the screen. I'm just talking about the player GUI. So there's the thing that pops up on the screen. That's part of your player GUI. So it's only visible for you and not for other players. But also, perhaps surprisingly, the actual physical whiteboard itself, the lines that are being drawn on that are also just local to you. Now, because everybody gets the same, everybody creates the same local copies, so in effect it doesn't appear local, but that is still part of the GUI, the player GUI object. Anyway.
Let's go back to the script, I guess.
Yeah, let's go back to the script. So since everything gets put in the workspace when you load the model from the toolbox, what this script does, which runs when you start the server, is so it takes the... You might actually have to stop the game so you can see what it looked like before the script ran, because the folder's not there anymore. So you see that there's a folder in the whiteboard folder called GUI. And what this script does is it just takes that GUI folder and sets its parent to be starter GUI. So it effectively moves that folder into the starter GUI thing, and this happens before any players join the game. This happens when the server runs. It also sets the adornee, so that causes the whiteboard to appear on the physical model that's in the world. And then lastly, it creates a bunch of events and sets up callbacks that basically fire when you want to... For example, there's an event that fires whenever someone draws a line, so whenever someone's holding down the mouse button and clicks and drags their mouse.
So just quickly, by the way, the adornee is the object in the world that the GUI should be rendered onto.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is... where is it?
Whiteboard model. I think it's one of the sub-objects of whiteboard model. It's there.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's a pretty good brief intro to the whiteboard. We want to try the other objects. Maybe skip the viewer. We can just put the Weiqi board in there.
Actually, so what do I need to do to distinguish these boards and have two different boards?
Rename the folder whiteboard to anything else. Because the way that it keeps track, the way that the events work is basically the first thing an event does is check that the board name is the same as the name that the person who's drawing expects it to be. And if it's not, it just does nothing. So that means that you only draw on whiteboards that have the same name as the one that was triggered.
Yep. So we can test that. And just by the way, this play button, I should have mentioned what I did. If you hit this drop down thing, you have play and play here and run. We don't use run, but if you have a large world and you have a spawn point that's away from away from like what you're actually working on, you might want to hit play here so that your player actually spawns into the world exactly where your current camera is. Cool. So these are separate now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't think to prepare some images to put into the viewer object, and given the time, maybe we'll just demo putting the Weiqi board in and leave it at that. So if you go back to the toolbox...
Well, and I have a question about the whiteboards. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
So when I put a whiteboard in, somehow I ended up with two whiteboards in the same folder because I think I duplicated the wrong part of it. But that's, I can fix that. How do I know which way the whiteboard is going to face?
James.
I don't think you do.
Okay.
I don't think there's any way
Just try it,
around just run it.
Yeah, we'll probably update it to mark it with a sort of "you right here" text label that will disappear once you actually run, so that you can tell when you spawn it into the world which face is actually going to receive drawing. But
that's
at the moment you just have to play it and see.
That's actually another thing that's worth mentioning about the advantage of these like packages is I can, if I decide that I want to update the code to add a bunch of new features, I can just do that, and then you can just get the new version. If you just search for Metauni Whiteboard again, it doesn't create it. It's not like creating a new object. I can just choose to update the object that's already in the box.
Yeah, I see some in the toolbox. Some people are like, oh, this is my model and this is my model fixed and this is my model fixed too. So like maybe other people don't know this, that you could do that.
Yeah, I think unfortunately it doesn't update everyone else's copy. They have to physically put it back in.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure out some. I mean, because it's currently what I'm doing with the Weiqi boards, for instance, in other places is I put it in there and then move it around and rotate it again and again and again. Of course, you can just copy and paste if you know that the script itself is the only thing that changed. But so we'll have to figure out a better upgrade story than delete the thing and put it in again. But
it would be nice if it notified everybody who's used your objects. Hey, by the way, there's a new and improved version. But I don't think it does that.
You could put that in the script. You could like have it contact an update server and give a notification like this board is out of date.
Yeah. Good idea. Okay.
Your premium trial period has ended.
Upgrade to Visual Whiteboard 2021 plus premium. Okay, so shall we?
I've got the whiteboards in my world. Do you want to see?
Oh, great.
On the screen share.
Yeah.
I think I can do that.
By the way, is there a zone at the bottom? Is that what the sub thing is? Or did I misunderstand what it's supposed to be?
That thing. No, that's meant to just indicate that it's a whiteboard. It's just a visual thing.
Yeah.
It's sort of like
meant
to remind you of the little thing you sit your pens on.
Yeah.
I originally just had like a single thing, and then I looked at the ones that you have in your world down. I was like, oh, this is much better. I'm just going to copy it.
Yeah, I figured there was like at least some minimal visual thing to tell you this is a whiteboard, rather than just some white thing that's floating in space. Seemed appropriate. But yeah, I didn't think much about it. Oh, there we go. Matt's thing. Let's have a look.
Maybe some like ink, dried ink gathered on the edges of the floor.
Oh wow, there's snow in here. Hello.
You can tell because the frame rate's pretty bad for me.
That looks okay. Yeah. Aha.
Oh,
So what's this?
I'll add this.
What's this piece of architecture behind you?
I haven't come up with a name for this one yet, but it's going to be my classroom.
Wow. Ha. That's amazing. Did you build that or did you get that from somewhere?
No, I didn't build this. This is just search Japanese castle.
Wow. That's awesome. Cool. All right, so you want to show the putting a Weiqi board in?
Yep. So I'll go back to toolbox, Weiqi board. So I wonder if I have this folder, say selected, and I click that.
Hopefully it's not that stupid. Yeah, that's good.
Oh no, it doesn't. Yeah, so it should just go into workspace. Cool. So it showed up there. I wanted to move this around. Yeah, that works.
Yes, the same thing goes for the Weiqi boards. If you have multiple Weiqi boards, you should just give them different names in the workspace and they'll be doing their own thing. It's worth flagging that the Weiqi boards, I don't think that the whiteboards don't currently use the data store at all, right, James? I think.
No, they don't.
Yeah. So the Weiqi boards make use of a sort of per server database that Roblox makes available. It's kind of quite slow, so it's only written and read to when the server ends and starts respectively. But that's how the state of the Weiqi board is made persistent. Okay, so you'll notice here that wherever a Weiqi board appears, this Metauni packaged object knows about the special stones that the 4 challenge winners from last week have. So that's
Nice.
how Billy gets. Whenever you use this in your world, Billy will also get his special stones. Okay, so it seems to work. So what else is there to say about?
I do notice that when I'm both players, that I'm the second one I chose, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, clicking on these things will just the last one you click is the color you play. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's all we want to say about putting the packaged objects in. Billy, do you want to say something about the kicking and banning?
Yes. Okay. How best to do this? Do you want me to show like the rough installation?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So this will I haven't finished it, but the way it's going to go. So I'll have to notice that while I'm currently in world, I'm in like a testing instance. This chat section is populated with all the backend for Roblox's chat, and what we want to do is add our own one of these modules to add more command functionality. So notice if I stop it, by default there's nothing in the chat, so that gets Roblox automatically populates that stuff. So for us to add a new thing, I will just need to open another. I just need to open the studio file where I actually have the current. Oops, not publish.
Yeah, I guess we can't see any of that. That's probably okay though.
Yeah, I'll just show you me pasting it in. And like, I don't know, do you think we're gonna package that as a model, or
I have no idea.
I've seen people distribute literally just, I think it's an RBX MX file that you can like drag in.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so
Maybe just let's just spell out what we're talking about. So at the moment, you can kick players. I mean, basically all this is motivated by the fact that at the moment, the only people in here are people we either know or sort of come through channels that probably don't produce crazy people, but you might get disruptive people in your Roblox worlds. Keep in mind that they're public by default, so anybody can join any Roblox world unless you make it a private server, which we haven't. Okay, so we should have the ability, we want to provide the ability as administrator of a MetaUni node to be able to kick or ban players conveniently. You can actually do that through the console if you know the appropriate code, but that's not very usable. So Billy has put together some, so you can interface with these commands through the chat. So that's what he's now going to present.
Yeah. So you'll notice we've essentially, what we're attempting to do here is just apply this new custom chat commands module script. And we want to put it inside the chat modules thing. So I've essentially just recreated that directory with the one extra little value here that tells Roblox, actually, I don't want to overwrite this entire folder. I just want to add one new thing to it. So you should be able to just paste in this folder. This is me stealing, let's call it adapting this general purpose script for making chat commands. So you can follow this guide here at this link and do a better job than me if you want. Yeah, that's the installation process.
Should we just demo it?
Usage?
Yeah, let's just demo it back in the world itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't quite figured out the setting and resetting.
Math.huge. That's my admin level. Math.huge.
Yes. That's what this script.
Okay.
What this guy came up with.
Good.
But so for the moment, I'm just sort of manually adding admins, but I think I can improve on that. So let me go back to the Rising Sea. Does anyone want to volunteer to get banned?
Tamer.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Let me share this screen. Just a moment. You are streaming. Change windows. All right. Does everyone see my view?
Yep.
Okay. This is important because the chat commands don't appear in the chat if you're an admin. If someone else who's not an admin tries to copy you, they'll just look silly because that command will show up as a chat. So, yeah, you can see there's a help prompt, but I haven't made it so that any of these commands show up. So for now, I'm just showing you what they are. Everything goes into this admin channel. I don't fully understand the functionality of that at this point. So first command is just /ban, and then you provide a username. So what username am I doing?
Lamamu.
No, it's no need for feeds.
Oh,
in there,
that's
so
right. That's the Discord idea. Yeah.
no need for feeds.
And it'd probably be funner if you were in the world because you'll get instantly kicked.
Okay, hold on. Let me see where I am. I thought I was, but I was disconnected. Hold on.
Cool. to run the world, not for long. If I run ban need with needs, you get banned. So you can see this response tells you which user ID it was. So the banning is based on user IDs because the person can change their username for like 1,000 Robux, but they can't change their user ID. So they get kicked from the game, and from no need for needs perspective.
Yeah.
What was that?
Sorry, I said how long is it? Is it a permanent ban?
Yes. So if you attempt to rejoin, it'll just kick you immediately, and it'll say you are banned. So maybe try that. I guess other people can't see it.
Yeah, it's a bit pointless. It works.
But what will happen is she'll join the world, and then a script will run which just instantly kicks her because she's in the data store, which in the data store it says that user ID is banned. We can unban her with the unban command. And let's see if I type in a name that's like definitely not a name, it'll say unable to get user ID of player with that name. So just make sure it actually finds them. So we go unban, no need for needs. They've been unbanned, and do you want to see if you can join again?
Yeah, trying now.
So the kick is just the same thing, but with kick instead of ban.
Yes. So yeah, cool. You've been able to join. If I just do kick, so this is just it's a very temporary ban where they simply just get kicked, but they don't get added to the ban list. So you can, if you see a purpose for that, you can use that. The other functionality which is currently working, the current whiteboard model in the toolbox isn't updated to do this yet. But for example, Dan, you'll need to run this one, but I'll just type it in here.
Okay.
So the boards command takes 2 to 3 arguments, and I can just do it badly, and it'll correct me. And so for this one, you can see it says, please specify on or off. The usage is, I don't know if I've done the syntax right for commands, but boards, you can say off or on, and you have the choice of all, others, guests, or a particular user. Right now, this just works for all the boards in your world globally. But so Dan, if you type boards off, let's say others, if you type that in, it will make it so that you can draw on the boards, but no one else can.
Okay. Why is this a backslash and the other one was a forward slash?
I think I just typed it wrong. It is actually a forward slash,
Okay.
and I've just written the usage incorrectly.
Okay, so let me try it on. So these boards down here should work or not?
It should work on that.
Okay, so boards. Sorry, what did you say? Boards off others.
Boards off others.
Deactivated for others. Okay.
Right now it's not working for me, but it'll work.
Do your best. See if you can draw on these whiteboards.
Cool. I cannot draw on them. You can still change colors. Nothing will happen, but once the boards get reactivated, you'll be using that color, and you can't undo or clear. But the functionality of opening and closing the whiteboard still works.
How does that work? Is it just like the events check whether the player is?
Yep.
Yeah, how does it work?
I can show that. Actually, I'll do that after just finishing any questions about this. So, by the way, you can omit the target, like, so if you just say boards on, that's the same as boards on all, and that turns it on for everyone. I think that's it. But any questions about the functionality?
Just on the kicking and banning, when it banned me, it said no reason specified. So can you also specify a reason when you kick or ban?
Yeah, I could add that, but I haven't at the moment. So
Might not be necessary.
yeah, so at the moment it just, so I could add another argument to do that, but at the moment it just calls the kick function without any option.
Okay.
Other questions? Yeah, I guess our main concern at the moment is just to make sure that you have the ability to lock down the boards if you want to. I mean, maybe you're completely happy just leaving them open, but you could, for example, these settings persist across server restarts, correct, Billy? Or no, not yet.
In the current functionality. So right now it is just the triggers, but
yeah, that's right.
It will be fixed so that it is a set state.
Right. So then you could turn off all the boards. I mean, suppose you're running a node and you want to have peace of mind about what's happening on the whiteboards when you're not there. Maybe you don't care about that, but maybe you do. Then you could turn off all the boards when you leave and turn them off when you come back in, and then you'll know that nobody's drawing inappropriate things in your world on your whiteboards when you're not there, keeping in mind that the rabble out there can join your world anytime. Okay. Thanks, Billy. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that?
I was just going to go and show what it actually does when you
yeah.
boards.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just change my window. I'll have to go to this one. Under a whiteboard, there's a whiteboard. Hold on. You guys are seeing what I'm doing, right?
Yep.
In board controller, there are now 2 more events. Here they are. Activate and deactivate. I guess this will change, but the important thing is this board active state. So when it's true, this all works as it used to work. And so these events like trigger the board active state to change. And you can see all of its functionality by just searching board active. So for example, it only changes the local events, so sort of stuff that the client, so that each user can do by clicking on the board in front of them and drawing on it. So you can see it still updates the coordinates of your mouse in case that's important, but what it disables, so when board active is false, it disables the trigger draw event, which is essentially locally you're drawing something, and this event tells the server to show everyone else that drawing, including yourself. So disabling board active stops that from happening, and it's the same story with everything else. For some things like opening and closing the full screen whiteboard view, it has no effect, and so that's the point of customizing where you put these if board active guards.
Okay, thanks, Billy.
So that's how that works. So ideally, or what this is going to change to is, instead of just sort of having these triggered events to turn it off and on, because at the moment a player can just leave the world and join again, and they won't have any of these restrictions anymore because board active starts as true. Instead, this will be a state that that this script looks up to detect if this player can actually, if this player's board is active.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess in like the data store, you have a map of player IDs to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Billy. I guess we'll wrap up the live stream. Are there any questions about adding parts to the world or how packages work or anything we've discussed?
How does the presenter display work, or is that out of today's scope?
Yeah, out of today's scope. I didn't get time to package that up. It'll work exactly the same way. So you'll just drag it in, and yeah, we didn't demo the viewer, but the way the viewer and the presenter display will work is there'll be a folder inside them, and you just drag and drop decals into that, and that'll be how you attach images to click through with the next and previous buttons that you've seen in the talks. But
Okay,
apart
that's
from
clear.
that,
Sorry, I conflated the viewer and the presenter display, so I thought that the presenter display was already.
oh right,
Yeah,
yeah,
I see it's-
they're basically the same thing, except that the viewer has the next and previous buttons on the GUI that comes up, and the presenter display has them in the world. Apart from that, they're basically identical. Any other questions? Yeah, so I mean the viewer is working, so feel free to give that a go too. You just maybe, yeah, James, you can comment. You do just drag and drop images into some folder in the viewer, don't you? Oh, that's what you're showing.
Yeah, it's in GUI images. I think the item description as well in the toolbox sort of says what you have to do, but it's fairly straightforward. If you have the asset manager open, in fact, you can just double click on an image in the asset manager, and it will automatically create a decal, and you just need to make sure it goes into that folder.
So that's not in Toolbox.
No, you go view.
Yeah, I think it's the next one over.
No, what? Yeah, view asset manager.
Oh, it's a separate thing. Yeah. Okay.
This, I need to publish the game. But I believe, isn't this a beta feature?
Asset manager is now mainstream. It's not beta anymore.
Okay.
as
just
of
happened to
last week, yeah. So
Okay.
asset manager is how you get images and audio and so on into your world. You can do it through the web page as well, but it's pretty clunky. So asset manager is how you want to upload images. So you just stick them in there and then drag and drop into that images folder, and it should just work. I guess the order that they appear in images matters from the point of view of the viewer, right?
Yeah, it's confusing. So it's the order that they were parented to that
Yeah.
folder, not the order that they appear in the folder, I think.
Yeah, so you can manipulate that by just dragging them out of that folder and then dragging them in one by one in the order that you want them to appear. But maybe we'll discuss that at some other point.
Yeah, there's no particularly intuitive way of telling this by looking.
Yeah.
But the easiest way to figure out what order they are is to just load up the world and see if they're the right order, and if they're not, then drag them out and drag them back in.
Maybe it's worth reminding any game setting permissions we need to enable. Like, isn't there a data store one?
Yeah, that's right. Good point. Yeah, you can go in.
So I just had to publish that before I was able to do this. But game settings under home.
I
I guess.
guess they should get an error message about the data store not working. So if something doesn't work, make sure you have view output activated, so you get this output window that Billy can see underneath his view of the world, and you'll see any errors that'll tell you what's missing if we've forgotten to tell you something. So for example, I forgot, probably I'll describe in this, there's a section on the home page about Metauni objects that links to all these objects, and that will have sort of instructions in particular to activate the data store in settings, which I guess Billy will do now.
Okay, game settings, security.
Oh, we can't see that, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. I can go.
Screen 2 again for some reason.
Okay, anyway, maybe let's just say it out
Alright.
loud. So you go into game settings, you go into security. Oh, we can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it because
No,
it was?
yeah, we can see it now. Anyway, let's just go through this quickly. We're running out of time. So yeah, you go into game settings, you go into
Oh, I
security.
can't.
Okay, so HTTP requests are necessary for the Discord bot to work. You'll recall that from the earlier guide. the studio access to API services, that's necessary for the data stores. So you need that in order for the Weiqi board to work, and in order for the in order for the whiteboard management features that Billy is going to implement soon to work. And the final one, allowed third-party teleports. You need that in order to have these teleports to the Metauni hub work. So, yeah. Okay, I think that covers everything we wanted to cover. So feel free to stick around in the world and play Weiqi, and Lavender's going to stay in this channel, and if you have any thoughts about, well, she can tell you what she wants out of you, I guess. So I'll drop off shortly as I've got another meeting, but the Weiqi boards are just stay here, so if you have a game in progress, feel free to leave it there. There's 4 boards. I think that's enough for you to have a persistent game here if you want. And I guess we'll leave it at that for the official program. Thanks for coming.